Hi everyone, as promised, I'm just re-recording this particular lecture because there was an audio quality issue with the earlier one. So before we continue with the next part of demand 2, let me just take you again very quickly on a short note with the demand part 1. And I'll be playing the same YouTube that I had recorded earlier. And as you can see, that is when you talk about, the quantity demanded for the apples is a function of price of apples. What it means is that when you're talking about how the price of a good affects the quantity demanded, and it is referred to as quantity demanded, and it's a negative relation. Yeah, and as the price of the apples increases, quantity demanded decreases, and if price decreases, quantity demanded increases. This is contraction, and this is extension. So any decrease in quantity demanded, contraction. Any increase is extension. And it can be drawn as in it's a movement along the curve. Just remember, if it's the price of the good, it's the movement along the curve. So as you can see, if the price goes up from P to P1, the quantity demanded decreases. And that's what we call is contraction. And in contrast of the same, it's extension. That is, as the price of a good goes down, the quantity demanded increases. So it's a movement along. Remember, right arm at 45-degree angle, and as you bring it back, it's extension. As you take it up, it's contraction. If there's any confusion, let me know. And the next part of it we will learn about is relating to what are the other things that affect the demand. That's what's going to comprise of the next section. I'm still waiting for this slide to move on. And what are the non-price determinants? There are so many other things that would affect the demand for a good. As you can see, taste and preference. And if you could just remember these signs, this would be super easy to understand. The whole idea would be super easy to understand because the question would have your answer. So when you talk about taste and preference, you prefer something, you buy more of it. You don't prefer something, you buy less of it. As simple as this. So it's a positive relation. As the taste and the preference goes up, the demand for that good goes up. As the taste and preference goes down, you buy less of it. As simple as this. If the weather is favorable, you want to buy more of a thing, possibly because that weather is favoring that taste. Because if it's very cold, maybe you want more coffee, hot beverages would sell. So your taste would automatically demand, the weather will have an effect on your taste and preference, and thus the demand will be affected. Likewise, even for advertisements, the more advertisements you see for something, the greater preference you have for it. And the next section is the price of the related goods. If you look at the price of related goods, the substitutes and the complements. Substitutes are the goods that can be used for one another, right? And the complements are that go hand in hand, so that are consumed together. So when you look at the substitute goods, smartboard and whiteboard is the classic example. And on the other side, complements, whiteboards and whiteboard markers. Smartboard, if the price of the smartboard goes up, what are you going to buy? You buy less of smartboards, so there'll be a contraction on that, and you'll buy more of whiteboards. So it's a positive relation. The price of one goes up, demand for the other goes up. Like your iPhone and Samsung. So if Samsung becomes more expensive, people will buy more of iPhones. Complements are just inverse. So whiteboard or whiteboard markers. So there is another explanation that is coming up for you here in context of both. If you were to look at the price of smart boards, let's say if it goes up, what is it going to lead to? For smart boards, there will be a contraction. But for whiteboards, there will be an increase in demand. Because the price of whiteboards hasn't changed. It is the price of smartboard that has changed. So these are two different things altogether, and both of them are substitutes. So, you could relate it to so many other substitutes just likewise. If you remember the plus sign, that is in terms of, now if you look at the price of smartboard, and one thing you have to remember, on the y-axis, if it is price of smartboards, on the quantity axis also, it has to be price of smartboards. But the question, if let's say, is asking you to find the effect on the demand of whiteboards. Then you label both the axes for whiteboards. That's it. So here you can see as the price of the whiteboards has gone up, there is a decrease in quantity demanded of smart boards. So this is contraction. However, how would you show this for whiteboards? The price of whiteboard didn't change. It is the price of smart board that has changed, and that is bringing this change in the demand for whiteboards. Hence, if people are buying lesser smart boards, they're going to buy more of whiteboards now. And this means there will be an increase. When we are saying increase, it's a complete shift of a demand curve. So there'll be two demand curves now. And that's what is the increase in demand curve or demand for whiteboards. So you can see now how this should be related. So definitely I have not written the in-between chain here, which you know price of smartboard goes up. There's a contraction of smartboards, but there is an increase in demand of whiteboards. So you can see you have to be very, very particular about the axis on this 100%. Otherwise, there's a greater chance of messing up with the answers for these. Moving forward would be relating to the other concepts of how there is an effect of income and other things. This slide is continuing to play, so you can see it. Yes. So decrease in quantity demanded was the contraction, and likewise, if you would remember the signs for many other other questions too. So you're looking at the complements now. If the price of smart boards is going up, what will happen to the demand for smart board markers? Definitely that will be lesser now, because you'll buy less of smart boards, and that would mean less of smart board pens. And yes, this is how it would be. The contraction for smart boards because of increasing in smart board prices. And these are two complements. I mean, it's like if the price of petrol goes up, there'll be lesser purchases or lesser demand of fuel cars. So pretty much on those lines, right? So one is the contraction, another is becoming here a decrease. And remember, decrease is less. Less means to the left. So when you're shifting the demand curve, this is an easy way of remembering. I just have to shift it to the left. It will be a leftward shift of demand. That's how it is. Yes. So demand decreases for the smart board pens. Likewise, for income, there are two types of goods. One is normal good, which behaves like as the income goes up, you tend to buy more of those goods. And as the income decreases, you buy less of them. So these are called normal goods. And inferior goods are in contrast. As the income increases, say, for example, these are the goods that you're buying because of the affordability or the low income. So in that situation, as your income goes up, you buy less of them because you switch over to better products and spend more on other things. So that is how the income effect is. And please remember that income is denoted by the letter Y, so it's not the axis of Y. So as you can see, inferior goods, lower the income, more the demand, and more the income, less the demand. And it could be any of those. It's like, if you're on a student budget or a student budget, naturally you are likely to have more of those takeaway meals or McDonald's or, meals that are cost effective. But let's say if you're earning $10,000 a month, you'll prefer to go out in a proper restaurant for a full course meal or spend more money on other things. So this is precisely the way you look at the inferior goods. Likewise, number of buyers, the more the number of buyers, the more is the demand. Lesser the number of buyers, less is the demand. And then is the price expectations. When you talk about the expectations, if you're expecting the prices to go up in future, when would you want to buy the goods? You'd say, I want to buy it now, right? And if you're expecting the prices to go down tomorrow, you say, okay, I'll postpone my purchase and I'll buy it later. And that's how the relationship between the price of the price expectations and the real demand is. So remember, we are talking about in future. So if the price is expected to go up in future, You'll try to buy the things now. So again, it's very tricky. It looks like as though it's not agreeing with the law of demand, but no, it's a different factor altogether. Here we are talking of not the price now, but the price in future. So that's what is affecting your demand. That's it. That is it for you, this particular lesson. I'll stop here and maybe, yep.